Welcome. Today we're looking at a really detailed piece, basically an analysis of a public figure. It digs into perceived hypocrisy, shifting timelines after a death, some professional clashes, and critiques of a faith movement.
Yeah, and it's strong stuff. A lot of evidence compiled.
It really is. You've got a mountain of fact here. Our aim today is just to help shape that evidence, make it hit with maximum impact.
Absolutely. The documentation, honestly, it's impressive. It's undeniable, the contradictions you've laid out. But with material this potent, we really have to consider the architecture of the argument.
Right. So one obvious strength is just the sheer number of receipts, as you call them. You nail the contradictions, that CNN interview timeline lie, the whole back and forth about refusing press versus that consent email. It's powerful fact-checking.
And that precision, it actually brings up a sequencing question, like when the reader sees these facts, what's the first big takeaway supposed to be? The main conclusion that she's leveraging Charlie's death for brand awareness and personal profit, that's in there, but it feels a bit buried.
Okay.
The analysis gives us all these compelling contradictions, yeah, but it could really boost its impact by stating that core thesis, the self-serving motive, much earlier on. Make it the anchor.
Right. That central idea about projection and profit, it's strong. But like you said, the reader has to wade through the CNN timeline stuff, the Alex Clark feud details, the TPUSA faith issue, before that main point really crystallized.
Exactly. And that rapid switching between topics, it kind of dilutes the bigger picture argument, the idea that this is all strategic malice, not just, sloppy mistakes.
I agree. Structurally, it holds back the so what of the whole piece.
So the suggestion here is really about structure. Frame the whole analysis around that central motive self-enrichment, rage engagement right from the start.
Okay.
Then use all those documented lies, the feuds, everything, as supporting evidence, like sub-proofs for that one main claim.
That rage engagement framing, yeah, that click. It instantly gives a why for the behavior, doesn't it?
It does.
Instead of explaining the profit motive way at the end, lead with it. A concrete way to do this? Maybe take that summary of the Alex Clark tweet, the two-pager.
Yeah, the one where she calls herself the self-styled David while, exploiting the death.
Exactly that one. Put that analysis right up front, at the very beginning.
Leading with that tweet analysis, that establishes the core accusation, the profit motive, immediately. It frames everything that follows as deliberate.
Like a prosecutor's opening statement, sets the stage.
Exactly. Then every piece of evidence, the CNN timeline discrepancies, the other fights, it's not just another incident. It becomes proof supporting that initial claim of cynical exploitation.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So once profit motive is the lens, you link the facts back to it. Like you detailed the two big contradictions, the CNN interview timeline claim a couple of days after versus the reality, 20 days.
Right.
And the whole refusing press versus the rep's email saying yes.
And the power there is connecting those lies directly back to the goal, maximizing attention, getting eyeballs, truth optional. If you lead with the profit motive, those aren't just spin anymore. They look like part of a deliberate, cynical strategy to manipulate the narrative.
That definitely strengthens the overall story. Okay, I want to shift gears a bit because structure is huge, but so is tone. Tone really determines who's receptive to this message.
True.
To make this resonate widely, especially with maybe neutral readers, the analysis really needs to keep that authoritative, fact-driven voice. Let the contradictions themselves deliver the punch, rather than leaning so heavily on very charged personal attack.
That's an interesting point, because the evidence is so strong. Like you said, that rep's email consenting, that's forensic.
Yeah.
But if we strip out all the personal charge, do we risk losing some of that emotional power that, clearly resonates with the current audience?
That's the tightrope, isn't it? The weakness right now is that when the commentary gets loaded with really emotional, ad hominem stuff, detestable, horrible person, miserable, absolute K-word, you risk giving skeptics an easy exit.
Right, they can just dismiss it.
Yeah, they write it off as just a personal vendetta, pure spite, and that emotional language, while maybe satisfying to write, can actually overshadow the strength of the documented fact.
Okay, so the suggestion isn't to make it sterile or boring.
No, not at all.
It's more about redirecting that energy.
Exactly. Channel that intensity into dissecting the actions, the documented hypocrisy. Cut out the speculation about her private life like those comments about her husband. Conversation. Let the public actions and the proven lies stand on their own as the evidence of malice.
That preserves the editorial authority,
Let the facts do the talk.
Precisely. Like when discussing the Alex Clark criticism, focus entirely on the factual contradiction you expose.
Okay.
She slammed Clark for an interview 4 days post-death, claiming she herself was incapacitated. Yet her own CNN interview was 20 days later, and she lied about that date specifically to excuse her, quote, erratic answers.
That contrast is the hypocrisy, documented.
Right. So use that, criticizing Clark's timing while lying about her own, as the proof of strategic malice. Don't just call her names.
Replace the general character hits with sharp analysis of her rhetorical tactics.
Yes.
Like analyzing that phrase she used, "I was not in the mood for stupid," as a way to excuse her CNN performance?
Ah, yeah. Break that down as a tactical deflection, a way to sidestep accountability. That's more powerful, more credible than just using a slur. You're critiquing the strategy, the public manipulation, not just vent.
Critiquing the strategy gives the reader something more substantial. It elevates the piece from maybe an attack to a sophisticated analysis of public deception.
Well put. Okay, excellent. That leads nicely into our third point, deepening the rhetorical analysis of charged language.
Ah, okay.
Specifically, that exchange about the vague pronoun they and how it immediately flips to Zionists run the media. That moment is packed with rhetorical significance, and the analysis could dig into it much deeper.
Yeah, that's a really complex bit. The material does touch on the contradiction there, the they Jews implication, but it summarizes it pretty quickly as just how does that make sense and moves on.
Right.
But this moment, it touches on some really loaded complex tropes. It deserves the same kind of detailed, almost forensic breakdown that you apply to the CNN timeline lie.
The weakness here is treating it almost like a slip of the tongue, maybe, when it feels much more like a calculated rhetorical play. These things rarely happen by accident in public discourse, you know?
Agreed. I think we should frame that whole exchange explicitly as a tactic. Maybe call it clarification through strategic evasion.
Ooh, I like that. Explain that.
Well, she needs to deny the vague they means Jews accusation to keep plausible deniability, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she seems to want to reinforce the underlying inflammatory idea.
Okay, that's the crucial analytical step. Get the reader to see how she uses the denial, if I want to say Jews, I will say Jews, essentially as a shield.
Right. It makes her sound blunt, honest.
But then she immediately pivots and confirms the core idea by substituting Zionists as the group controlling the media, which is, let's be honest, a well-known and related political trope.
It's a clever evasion. It lets her appear direct while technically sidestepping the exact word she was just accused of using vaguely.
So we need to really zoom in on that specific quote. When I say Zionists run the media, I mean Zionists run the media.
Yes, break down the dual function. It's denying one thing while forcefully asserting something very similar and highly charged.
It's deflection and doubling down all in one move. The analysis needs to show she's clarifying the target of the conspiracy, the media, while strategically swapping the group allegedly behind it.
And linking this pattern of, let's call it misrepresentation, is key. Connect this rhetorical strategy back to her later manufactured outrage about TPUSA's faith focus after the murder.
Right, which you showed started way back in 2021.
Exactly. It wasn't some new opportunistic thing like she implied.
So showing that pattern, misrepresenting facts and timelines across different contexts, whether it's the CNN interview, the Alex Clark feud, or the TPUSA faith thing, that really hammers home the overall argument.
It unifies the thesis. This isn't about truth for her. It's about engineering conflict, generating outrage, likely for personal benefit.
Yeah. Exposing the pattern makes the case much stronger than just listing individual incidents.
Okay, this has been, I think, a really productive discussion. The raw material here, the evidence, it's genuinely top-notch.
Absolutely. So, just to recap, for maximum impact in reaching, maybe a broader audience, 3 key areas to refine. First, really strengthen that narrative arc. Anchor everything to the central thesis, self-enrichment, rage engagement, right from the beginning. Lead with the motive.
Second, elevate the tone. Maintain that editorial authority. Let the strong evidence and sharp analysis of her actions do the work rather than relying too much on frequent personal insults. Focus on the strategy.
And third, really dedicate more focused analytical time to unpacking her charged rhetoric. Treat that whole "they Zionist" exchange not just as a comment, but as a key piece of calculated performance art that reveals from manipulative tactics.
So, refine the structure, lead with motive. Polish the tone, match it to the evidence's strength.
and deepen the rhetorical breakdown, especially on that evasion tactic.
Exactly. Do that, and this already powerful piece becomes even more compelling.
We're definitely looking forward to seeing how you incorporate these ideas into the revised analysis.